All right. I want to thank everybody for being here today. The Huntsville Housing Authority is an unsung hero of our community, helping to make housing attainability for many families in our area difficult in finding a home. As we enjoy, I don't know if we're enjoying it, but this explosive growth in our area, HARA is committed to ensuring that the growth benefits are felt by all the residents. That's right. We want to make sure that people here get a home. With that, I'd just like to say thank you for Tony McGinnis and his team for working with Huntsville Housing Authority. Tony, do you have any questions?
I do not have any questions at this time.
Well, I appreciate what you do with the Huntsville Housing Authority, and we work very, very diligently on making sure that I know I've come across to our board of directors and to our brokers about it's important that we let these sellers know that owner occupants are the best buyers for their residents, and it's not all about bottom line. It is not. But yeah, Tony, I'll let you have.
Okay, I definitely appreciate it. I want to jump right in by saying thank you to, for HARA for having us here today. We're excited about the growth of Huntsville, but we're more excited about the opportunities that hopefully the growth can present to the residents that we serve in the inner city. We're grateful for the partnership that we're creating. We're just thankful for, man, I've got a real loud echo. Can y'all still hear me? Okay, I'm not sure what that is, but I'm excited about where we are as a stakeholder in this community. And today we're just going to talk about a couple of programs that we have. But before we do that, I wanted to make sure that you guys mark your calendar for an event that we're going to do, and we'll send more information out. We're going to send a save the date out here pretty soon. What we're going to do on August the 15th at the Jackson Center, we're going to have an affordable housing workshop where we're going to give Huntsville and the community an opportunity to see what we do from day to day, because people just don't know. They don't know who qualifies for public housing. Most people on the call would not know that those making up to 80% of the average median income in the city of Huntsville could actually qualify for public housing. And so we're going to be an open book on August the 15th. We're going to let everybody know what we do, how we do it, why we do it, and why it's important for us to be in business. But today, we want to talk about housing choice voucher and the opportunities that may be on the table for realtors on this call and some of the investors that you may work with. And so what we're going to do first, we're going to talk about our normal housing choice voucher that we're kind of recoining. We're renaming it. It's going to stay the same on the paperwork, but we're going to rename it to the workforce housing because it's a cleaner name. It gives people an opportunity to understand that individuals who will be needing the assistance are individuals who are working. We're just supplementing their income by providing them a voucher. And so I'm going to let our housing choice voucher director, Ms. Paula Bingham, talk about the housing choice voucher and how one goes about receiving a voucher and the benefits a voucher may have for an investor or a homeowner who just has a piece of property that they just don't know what to do with. So Paula, I'll turn it over to you if you don't mind.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here to listen to our presentation. Can I possibly, Sean, share my screen?
Yes, ma'am. I'm sure I can make that happen real quick. Hang on. Here, sorry. There you go. You should have those permissions. So.
Can you see it now?
No. There we go.
Okay. Are you seeing the one that says Huntsville Housing Authority or Housing Choice Voucher fact sheet?
Huntsville Housing Authority, Section 8, Housing Choice Voucher Program.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Housing Choice Voucher Program first, and what Huntsville Housing Authority, the programs that we administer. So we have, as you can see on this PowerPoint, we have different types of vouchers. So we have regular vouchers that have been awarded to us from HUD. We have some special purpose vouchers like the 208 vouchers for the BASH program. That's for homeless veterans. We have added to our baseline. So we started with 1469, and then we got some additional vouchers when we did the demo of Sparkman Homes. And also we will be demoing Butler Terrace Addition. So we got additional vouchers for those families that were being displaced. We received 65 additional vouchers for the mainstream voucher program, which is for families that have at least one household member that is disabled and between the ages of 18 and 61. We received 25 or up to 25 vouchers for youth exiting the foster care system. And we received just recently 110 vouchers, emergency housing vouchers for homeless individuals and families. We also have a program that we partner with Wellstone to provide housing to disabled families that were disabled and homeless. And that's administered through Wellstone. So the Housing Choice Voucher Program, which is also called Section 8, this provides rental assistance for low-income families in the private market. So our families have a voucher and they can rent from any private landlord as long as that landlord is willing to participate in the program and the unit meets our housing quality standards and the rent is reasonable and affordable. So affordable to us means, or to HUD means, that the family is not paying more than 40% of their monthly income for rent and utilities. The families are required to pay 30% of their income, but we can't allow them to pay more than 40%. So that makes the unit affordable. The stipulation that the rent is reasonable, it's called rent reasonableness by HUD. And we're required to do a market study just to make sure that the rent is comparable to other unassisted units with the same amenities. So it's really basic. The landlords use their own lease agreement just like they would with any other tenant. They use their own screening criteria. So just because a family has a voucher and you've leased to one family doesn't mean you have to take every Section 8 client that applies. You're going to use your same screening criteria across the board. Like I said before, families pay usually no more than 30% of their monthly income. We can allow them to pay up to 40%, and then we subsidize the rest. We make our payments on the first of the month, or usually by the third business day of the month, by direct deposit. So we feel like it's really a win-win for a landlord. It's a three-way partnership. So the Housing Authority does not sign the lease agreement. Our participants sign a lease agreement with the landlord, and we sign a housing assistance payments contract with the landlord after the unit passes inspection and the lease is executed. And we start paying subsidy assistance on that day. We accept applications on a limited basis. When we open the waiting list, we usually do it for a a set number of days. The last time we opened the application waiting list was in June of 2020, and we took applications only for 1 week, and we took almost 4,000 applications in that 1 week period. We did utilize a lottery system at that time, and we only placed 2,000 families on our waiting list, and we still have people that are still on that current list. We do plan to open the waiting list again soon in the very near future. Just talked about that. Our payment standards, I guess, is something that would really be important to a prospective new landlord, because obviously you want to know how much rent you can charge for your unit. And I think there's kind of a misconception that Section 8 rents have to be low. Well, HUD requires that we keep our payment standard. Now, that's the amount of rent that we can pay out for a family based on their household size. And HUD requires that the Housing Authority determine what we set our payment standards at based on the fair market rent. So we have the option anywhere between 90 and 110% of the fair market rent to set our payment standards at. So in August of last year, Huntsville Housing Authority elected to go with 110%, the maximum of the fair market rents, to set our payment standards. HUD does require that we attempt to deconcentrate poverty, which is really important because we don't want all of the Section 8 families clustering in the same neighborhoods. And we want our families, and HUD wants our families, to move into the higher opportunity areas, the high poverty, move from high poverty concentration to low concentration. And we feel like this is going to benefit our clients, obviously, because they have access to better schools and better job opportunities, shopping in better neighborhoods, and of course, the lower crime rates. And so in order to deconcentrate poverty, Huntsville Housing Authority elected a couple of years ago to implement small area fair market rents. And what this means is that instead of having a payment standard for the entire Huntsville Housing Authority jurisdiction, which is Madison County, we are using 12 different zip codes with the higher income areas and using the small area fair market rents for those 12 different zip codes. And it's, I'm going to show you that information on the next slide, but it's Harvest and Meridianville, Madison, and Tony, and Hampton Cove, and South Huntsville, the higher income areas where traditionally our voucher holders could not lease a unit because those are the higher rent areas. And so in toward the end of December, HUD came out with some waiver opportunities. And at that point in time, Huntsville Housing Authority immediately applied for a waiver so that we could actually go to 120% of the fair market rents. And we received approval from HUD to do that. So in August of this year, no, April 1st of this year, we implemented 120% of the fair market rent for our payment standards. And for those 12 different zip codes, if the unit that a family wants to lease does not fall within one of those 12 different zip codes on this chart, they would fall under the Huntsville Metropolitan fair market rent, which is the numbers at the top. So as you can see, we think we're pretty competitive in these, especially in the small area FMRs. A family with a 3-bedroom voucher could actually rent a house in 35756, and this is gross rent. Keep in mind that's kind of a complicated little area to talk about, but actually what we have to do is back out the utility allowance from the payment standard for a family that didn't have any income at all to fall within that 30% range. So they have to stay under the payment standard. So for instance, if you're looking at zip code 35756, if the family had a 3-bedroom voucher and they could, and we estimate probably about a $200 utility allowance for a 3-bedroom unit. So we'd be looking at about $1,900 or a little more for rent for a 3-bedroom house. So I know some areas are higher than that, and you can see by the chart that they're quite a bit lower in the metro area as opposed to, say, Harvest and Madison and the Hampton Cove area. But we think that, and we are having a lot of success with increased payment standards.
What?
Can you hear me?
What's happening, babe?
All right, so our jurisdiction, like I said, is all of Madison County. So when a family has a voucher that's administered through Huntsville Housing Authority, they can lease a unit anywhere in Madison County. We currently have about 500 landlords on the program. Some are, of course, large management companies that represent several units, some over 100 units, and we have several apartment complexes that have at least 50 Section 8 voucher holders leasing through them. I talked a little bit about the housing quality standards. That's inspection that we do prior to going under contract for a unit for a participant. So the house or apartment does have to pass the housing quality.
I think you send one more demand letter to the property management company that we address. Hold on.
Thomas, please mute your line.
Okay. Housing quality standards are minimum standards, actually. You've probably heard that the inspections are detailed. HUD requires certain standards. We have increased a little bit on our end, but we really feel like they're minimum standards, mostly general health and safety. Like I said, we do the inspection prior to going under contract initially, and after that, we only inspect once every 2 years now, or as requested by the tenant or the landlord. When we issue a voucher to a family, they can actually move and take that voucher with them anywhere in the United States, and that's called portability. So our families do have the option to port out. With the HUD VASH program, that's a program like I talked about a little bit earlier, and that's specifically for veterans. And we're having great success with that program. We have seen many of our veterans go from being homeless and on the street to being housed and going to work, receiving their benefits. We've had veterans that have actually purchased homes after getting a voucher and staying on the program for a while. They do have very good case management that's provided by the VA. So if you do choose to rent to one of our veterans under this program, you will know that they are receiving case management by the VA for any of the issues that they may have with initially being housed. Talked a little bit earlier about the mainstream program and the foster youth to independence. Have a really good story to tell about our foster youth. We have, I think we have 7 now that are housed through this program. And one of our foster youth just recently became employed by Huntsville Housing Authority. I don't know if Tony and Terkesa even know that, but really proud of that we're helping not only with housing, but with employment as well. Emergency vouchers will be covered by Terkesa a little bit later. We have a family self-sufficiency program also through the Section 8 program. And we have 2 coordinators that help our families that are actually on the fast track to coming up and off of the program. They want to be self-sufficient where they no longer need assistance from us. And they receive case management by being referred to different social service providers or home ownership counseling services, money management classes, anything that they need so that they can become self-sufficient. We do have project-based vouchers. This is where we actually have, if anyone is interested, we actually have a rolling procurement for project-based vouchers. If you're interested in that, you can go to our website and check into it. You would need to submit a proposal, and we can award project-based vouchers for a new development or for an existing property. If you're interested in that, of course, you can give me a call and we can talk about it, and I can tell you how that program works. We actually have 57 project-based vouchers that we awarded to a developer that is currently finishing out the second phase of a senior property in Madison, a beautiful property. And we have really had great success with those project-based vouchers there. Project-based voucher is where the assistance is tied to the property instead of to the tenant. So that if, like, for instance, we awarded 49 vouchers to another developer that is currently, their property is currently under construction, a 200-unit development, that they're going to have 49 project-based vouchers consistently at that property. So they know at any point in time, those 49 project-based vouchers will be utilized, and we will be providing rental assistance to 49 families, and they will be paying rent based on their income to that property. We also have a home ownership program, and this program is really growing since we hired a home ownership coordinator. And I've given you his name and his email address at the bottom in case you're interested in maybe providing or maybe talking to him about any houses that you have for sale that we can refer to our clients. We have, with this program, instead of providing rental assistance, we can provide mortgage assistance for our clients and help them pay their rent for up to 15 years. So this is kind of the best kept secret that we have. We've really never had a homeownership coordinator to grow this program. And Quentin is really working hard to get families qualified. Now they have to qualify for a mortgage on their own, but we have some lenders working with us. So you could actually lease a unit to one of our Section 8 voucher holders, and they can in turn purchase that unit with home ownership assistance. So we really think this is something that you might be interested in. So the last slide, I've got my contact information, our web address, and information on the HUD website about the Housing Choice Voucher program. And I think Teresa has a presentation next, and of course we will answer any questions that you have.
All right. Did anybody thank you, Paula, by the way. Did anybody have any questions for Paula?
I think that we were wondering if we could get a copy of the slides that are provided today.
Yeah, Paula, if the Housing Authority is comfortable with that, I can get you all a list of everyone who participated.
Sure thing. We'd love to.
I have a question. I am currently a landlord with Section 8 properties in Huntsville. And I'm having a hard time. How do I get in contact with? I had a hard time. I couldn't set up I think we have to have a portal. I needed a 1099, and I have to have a portal, but I can't find anyone to, you know, I call, but you know, I don't get anyone answering or responding. So how do I get, what's a good contact for someone there to help me set up my portal?
Okay. My email address is on that last slide. I don't know if it's probably not still up, but if you want to, when I send the slides out, it'll have my information on it, and you can actually email me and I can email you the instructions for the portal. Okay. And we can send you your 1099 by email as well if you'd like us to do that.
Yes. Can you put your information in the chat just in case I don't get that? Thank you.
I just put your email address in there, Paula.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. And there was one other question from Lisa Spinelli. With the Port Out program, does that mean Huntsville Housing Authority can assist with cases where a recipient was served by a different city's housing authority?
Yes. They can, yes. A client can port in here as well. So a voucher is portable, so they can port out to another city or they can port in here from another city. Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is, I believe, is Turquesa. Is that correct?
That is correct. I have a small presentation I'd like to share as well.
All right. See if I can go ahead and make you a co-host as well. All right, that should you should be able to momentarily. There you go.
Okay. All right. Okay, can you all see that screen? Should read Emergency Housing Voucher Program.
Yes, ma'am.
Good deal, good deal. So, good afternoon. Hope you all are doing well. Thank you so much, HAR, for structuring these types of forums. It is so important for us to have these type of conversations. One, we want to make sure that we're always educating the community about our programs, our processes, and our vouchers. Paula just went through a series of tools that we have here at the Housing Authority, which they're all great tools. So as we go through this portion of the presentation, I'd like for you guys to think about our vouchers in the terms of voucher to homeownership, because all of our vouchers ultimately have a homeownership life shift to them. And we want to make sure that we continue to push that homeownership option to the community. One, because it's a great tool, and it's a tool which will allow our residents to be able to compete in this crazy world that we're having here in Huntsville. It is great progress, great growth, but we just want to make sure that all sectors of our communities grow alongside everybody else. And so with that said, I want to talk a little bit about the Emergency Housing Voucher Program, its objectives, its processes, and how it differs from our traditional Section 8 voucher program. So first off, the objectives of the EHV program is to foster partnerships, specifically using the continuum of care concept. So if you guys are familiar with the continuum of care concept, it is where we want to be able to triage comprehensively through this housing system and to be able to use all the resources within our community. We want to be able to engage in outreach activities that will yield these type of collaborative approaches. We understand that sometimes in moving families to the stage where they want to be, we need to couple more than one set of resources in order to move them forward. So the EHV program is funded through the American Rescue Plan Act. Huntsville, out of 70,000 EHVs that were issued throughout the United States, Huntsville received 110 vouchers, which is the biggest amount of vouchers for any jurisdiction in the state of Alabama. And they are targeted to, meaning that the vouchers, emergency housing vouchers, are targeted to homelessness, at risk of homelessness, and persons or families fleeing or attempting to flee domestic violence or human trafficking. So I want to put a pin in it right there, because sometimes we think about homelessness as what we see, like street homelessness. But I want us to make sure that we understand that homelessness could look like a relative couch surfing. It could look like someone that's paying more than 30% of their annual income on housing, which happens a lot. In order for families sometimes to be in a safe, decent neighborhood, good school systems, we tend to pay a lot more than 30% of our annual income on housing, which keeps us from getting things like medicines, groceries, and the list can go on. The impact of EHV is the reduction of crowding and housing instability. We want to be able to reduce poverty with these vouchers, improve the outcomes for children. Paula mentioned that earlier about the small area benefits and wanting to deconcentrate housing. And we do understand that when a child is growing up in a healthy environment with stable housing, the outcomes for that child and until that family will improve. And then it also improves our health cost. So I spoke a little bit earlier about COCs and how they play a critical role in coupling resources. We are strong proponents of making sure that everybody that wants to be involved, when I say everybody, meaning agencies, realtors that would like to be involved in the COC concept, do that, because again, you will be able to get a snapshot of other resources within our community, beyond just housing resources. So with the partnerships, the COC partnerships, we want to be able to target those vouchers in areas or to families that have the highest need. Those families will go through what's called a coordinated entry system. And in that coordinated entry system, we will somewhat rate the family to see what their level of vulnerability is. We want to make sure that these vouchers are targeted to the most vulnerable in our community. The COCs are responsible for determining the eligibility of those families. So once they go through the assessment, they determine their vulnerability status, and they really work along with us, alongside those families that need the help. One of the things that we hear in the community is, landlords may not want to participate in these programs, one, because they don't understand the voucher system. Two, they may have had some bad or not so favorable outcomes from voucher holders. And in some cases, like Ms. Green asked the question earlier, how I'm calling, but I'm not able to get response. So we want to be able to go alongside the families, along with the COC agencies. Okay, this next slide is somewhat of a flow chart of how it works as it relates to EHV. The EHV clients must be referred by one of the COC agencies. And what I will do is make sure that you guys get a list of those agencies that are already approved COC members. But I do want to stress that anyone, any agency, any entity in the community can be a part of the COC. And we are really pushing that realtors become a part of this network, because again, it would be a place where you can gather a great amount of resources to help your folks. So the first stage in this is to be referred by a COC agency. The COC agency will help that individual or family through the intake application process. They have been trained to do that. They have been trained to also connect with other resources. Once the application is complete, that COC agency member will submit that application to us. We will then go through, we will review that application, one, to make sure that that individual or family has met all of the EHV requirements, and to make sure that they have signed all disclosures, yada, yada, yada. We then go through a stage of approving or denying an individual or family. If we are on the approving side, we then issue the voucher. Let me move my screen down here a little bit. We will issue the voucher and refer that client back to the referring agency, the COC. At that point, they start shopping. They will identify a unit. We will then go through the inspection process in hopes that it passes on the first go. But if not, then we have a process to allow that landlord to correct those things that are found, make those adjustments, and send that person back to us. If the inspection passes, we will then execute a rental assistance agreement, determine what that subsidy would be, meaning how much the voucher will pay versus how much that individual or family will pay. I'm gonna go through these slides because they're saying the same thing that the first slide said. And again, we'll make sure that you all get these slides, and so you can study that process. But I wanted to kind of hone in a little bit about what Paula talked about as it relates to our fair market rent and our small area fair market rent, because this kind of shows you how we can compete. I think one of the misconceptions about our voucher programs is that it's not comparable with market rate rents. So I'm going to use the column of a 3-bedroom, starting at the top level of rent where you have the $1,900. And as you can see, for a family of 3, which is the average size family in Huntsville, we most definitely are in line with what market rate rents are. So it's not that myth that, you know, the voucher will not pay a decent amount of rent on a monthly basis. There's a range of options that we have there to allow our folks to deconcentrate if they have transportation. It will allow our families to compete again. You know, that's my message here, is to be able to allow our families to compete in this market. This slide talks about our program initiatives. So if you are a landlord and you agree to accept our emergency housing vouchers, we have some incentives. We will provide a $1,000 signing bonus to landlords. And that is once we've gone through the inspection and a executed lease is in place. And if you as a realtor or the COC agency has assisted that family or individual, we also have a $250 incentive for you all. The EHV program pays for application fees, security deposit, utility deposit, arrears, and transfer fees. The voucher will also allow us to pay renter's insurance up to $200, move-in costs at a reasonable rate, and we also provide those families or individual with a gift card to purchase essential household items in the amount of $500. Again, we want, with these vouchers and all of our voucher programs, we want to make sure that we are continually educating our community about what those programs look like and the processes that it'll take to get there. We want to be good partners, and we want to attract good partners. So if you know any landlords that would be interested in the emergency housing voucher or any of our voucher programs, please let myself know, Paula or Tony. We'll make sure that we get you the information you need. We don't mind going out and talking to agencies and individuals about our program. We much rather do that so we can kind of demystify some of the incorrect information that is floating within our community. So that concludes my presentation, and I most definitely welcome questions.
All right, thank you so much. Go ahead and open that up. Did anybody have any questions for Ms. Coleman-Lacey? Don't think we had anything in the chat either. And thank you for being willing to share those slides with the group.
Sure.
All right, did anybody have any questions in general for the Huntsville Housing Authority? Any of the programs that you heard about today? All right.
Well, this is a pretty easy group, no question.
With that, I guess we can kind of kick it over to Tony, just to kind of close us out, if there's anything that you wanted to kind of mention.
Well, thank you, Sean. I want to say that I'm excited again. Paula presented earlier, and Paula is a veteran with our agency. She's been here for over 20 years and just has a host of knowledge about what she talked about earlier about the Housing Choice Voucher Program, and then actually getting Turkisa to come over from the city with an additional 20 years of experience. So, you know, we have people who really understand the housing space, and we're excited to have them on board. I wanted to make sure that I send you some information about the event that we're going to have on the 15th, so that anybody who wants to register can do so, because we have limited seating. But housing in Huntsville is going to change. We're doing some exciting things. We're hopefully going to be developing a few sites. You'll be hearing more about what's going to take place. But I'm glad Paula also talked about the opportunity that may be out there for individuals to use their vouchers to become homeowners. Because at the end of the day, you know, we want to put people into homes. One of the goals on our strategic plan is to make sure that we help our residents become more self-sufficient. That's our number one goal, is because we want them to be a part of the greater community. And I think through home ownership, we'll allow them the opportunity to become just that much more effective in this community that we live in. Huntsville is growing, and we want everybody who wants to have the opportunity to sit at the table to have that opportunity. And so we're going to really be pushing our residents to do better. We actually are partnering with Mazda Toyota to see if they could actually provide jobs for our residents. And man, we're excited for all things that can happen here. And we appreciate you all for allowing us this space. We'd love to share anytime you all have the opportunity for us to do so. We've only shared a couple of our programs today, but on the 15th of August, we're going to just be an open book to the community, because again, a lot of people just don't know what we do. And so we're excited about that. I mean, I can't say it enough, because we want individuals to know how they can partner with the Housing Authority and how we can help our residents achieve that level of self-sufficiency. So again, thank you all for having us. And if you don't have any questions, I mean, we'll stay on for a minute and answer any question, but if you don't have any questions, we appreciate it.
I don't have a question, Mr. McGinnis. I don't have a question, but I do have a comment to say that if I could dispel any myths about the voucher program, because I have participated with my properties, and it's always been a good experience. I've always had a good experience. Tenants are tenants, but if I did have a problem, I've always got the support from Housing Authority, which always made it easier to participate in the program. So I've done it for not many years, maybe about 10 years now. So it's a good program.
That's awesome. we appreciate that. Anytime we can get kudos from a landlord, that's always a good thing. And so thank you for that comment.
All right. Did anybody have anything else?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. One other thing.
Go for it.
This is Tim Brown. I'm a property manager. Did you guys say that you were going to be sending out information on the purchase program?
Yes, if it's okay, I think what we'll do is send the information to Sean, and he will be able to send it out to the entire group, if that's okay.
Yeah, that works great.
I put my email in the chat just in case. I was a part of the venture with the last, who was the guy that was over it that moved to Birmingham?
That was Mr. Lundy, Michael Lundy.
Yeah, Mike Lundy. Okay. So I was a part of the program at Stepping Stone when we done the transition program. So I'm very familiar. I got a couple tenants now that are currently on the Section 8 program. So I'm interested in trying to help them transition into home ownership. So whatever information you guys can send us in that regards, I would greatly appreciate it.
That's awesome. You think they're ready? And let me say this too to everybody on the call. Those individuals have to pre-qualify just like any other person who buys a home. And so it really takes them through the entire process. What they are able to receive through the Housing Authority is that extra support that will help them actually in this market that we're in. And so it's a win-win for individuals who can receive this voucher, turn it into a tool to use for home ownership. I just think it's a win. And so, Tim, we'll be more than happy to get that information to you, because if you have clients who are already in the program who you feel like are ready to take that next leap, we have an excellent young man who works with our home ownership program. And we found a few banks that are willing to work with us and use that tool as a source of income. So we're excited to let you connect with that young man, and we'll keep that ball rolling.
Okay. Appreciate it so much, Tony.
All right.
And it looks like we do have one last question in the chat. When does the change to have property inspections every 2 years go into effect?
That actually changed about 2 years ago. Now, I think it's good. On one hand, it does, we have to do things from time to time to save money, and of course, inspections are costly. So we went to the inspections once every 2 years, but if a landlord has someone in their unit and they want us to do an inspection, we can always do that. But unless it's requested, yes, we just do once every 2 years, and that changed about 2 years ago, I believe.
Thank you for that information. All right. Well, I hate to put you on the spot, Isaac, but if you have anything that you'd like to add, I'll go ahead and add you there, and then we can let everybody get on with their day.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for coming together. I mean, all of us are trying to solve this problem and getting people, number one, getting people on rental properties and getting people into home ownership. I think that's the goal for the city. That's definitely the goal for the real estate community. And the more people we get involved and aware of this, and I think the better off we're going to be. But thank everybody, and great presentations, guys.